Welcome to this deep dive, and today we're going to be looking at how Homo sapiens, you and me, went from just another human species to, like, the rulers of the planet. Our guide for this journey is Yuval Noah Harari's *Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind*. And
Great book.
yeah,
It's a really fascinating look at our
this
species.
is full of surprises.
Yeah,
For starters, we weren't always alone. It's like imagine sharing the planet with other human species.
it's true. In fact, Homo sapiens weren't even the front runners for quite a while. Multiple human species, roamed the Earth, each with their own unique adaptations.
Okay, so picture this. So I'm on a hike, but instead of spotting a deer, I stumble across a Neanderthal family. Like, how different were these other humans?
While Neanderthals, they were physically stronger than us. They were adapted to the colder climates of Europe, and we even have evidence that they cared for their sick and buried their dead.
Wow.
Further east on the island of Flores in Indonesia lived Homo floresiensis, the so-called hobbits.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they were remarkably small, standing at about 3 feet tall. And get this, they hunted dwarf elephants.
Dwarf elephants. Okay, now I have to know more about them. But focusing back on us, why did Homo sapiens succeed while these other fascinating humans, vanished?
Well, it's a question that continues to spark debate. One theory is interbreeding. We know that modern humans of European descent carry about 1 to 4% Neanderthal DNA. Perhaps Homo sapiens simply absorbed these other species into their own.
So a bit of Neanderthal is hiding in all of us. I like it. But doesn't that mean they weren't really separate species after all?
That's a key point of contention. Some argue that interbreeding might have been limited due to significant species differences.
Okay.
And then there's the replacement theory, suggesting a less harmonious scenario. Perhaps Homo sapiens outcompeted other humans for resources, maybe even resorting to violence?
Okay, that's less heartwarming. It does make you wonder if that drive for dominance is still, wired into us somewhere. But Harari points to a crucial turning point in our journey, the cognitive revolution. Around 70,000 years ago, things started changing rapidly for Homo sapiens.
We see a sudden burst of innovation, more sophisticated tools, cave paintings bursting with artistry, and Homo sapiens migrating across the globe. This expansion had profound consequences. For instance, the arrival of Homo sapiens in Australia coincided with the extinction of numerous large mammals.
So we were quite the disruptive force. But what sparked this cognitive explosion? Was it some ancient self-help seminar?
Not quite. The most plausible explanation is a genetic mutation that altered the structure of the human brain. This led to the development of something truly unique: complex language.
But my dog understands me when I tell him to sit. Isn't that language too?
Well, it is a form of communication, but it's fundamentally different. Animal communication focuses on concrete things. Bees communicate about food sources, monkeys warn of danger. Human language transcends the physical world, allowing us to communicate about abstract concepts, things that don't physically exist.
You saying we can talk about things that aren't real?
Wait,
Is that where my ex got all his ideas?
well, perhaps. But think about it. Concepts like nations, laws, even money, they exist because we collectively agree that they do. These shared beliefs, or common myths as Harari calls them, are the glue that holds societies together.
So my dollar bill is basically a collective hallucination we all agree to believe in.
That's Charlie.
But kind of awesome, and this is what allowed us to cooperate on a massive scale and build empires.
Precisely. Shared beliefs, even fictional ones, can unite millions around a common goal.
Okay, so we've got language, the power of storytelling, and a knack for believing in things that don't exist. Sounds like the start of a good superhero origin story. But then comes the agricultural revolution. We ditch the hunter-gatherer lifestyle and settle down to farm. On the surface, it seems like a downgrade. More work, worse diet. Why did we make that choice?
The answer, as with most things in history, is complex. While agriculture did lead to longer work hours and a less diverse diet, it also allowed us to produce more food per unit of land. This surplus led to larger populations, settled communities, and specialization of labor.
So it's like trading a six-pack for a potbelly, but gaining a village in the process. But these larger communities, with their food surpluses and specialized roles, didn't that create new problems too? How do you keep track of all that grain? And who decides who gets to be the blacksmith versus the,
Yeah.
dung beetle collector?
Excellent point. With larger, more complex societies, you need ways to manage resources, prevent cheating, and maintain order. This is where we see the development of writing, money, laws, and hierarchical social structures.
Hold on, are you saying money was invented to stop people from stealing barley?
Well, not exactly stealing, but yes, early forms of money, like barley in Mesopotamia, were used to standardize trade and prevent fraud. Imagine trying to barter for a new plow with a sack of potatoes. With a standardized currency, trade becomes much more efficient.
That's a light bulb moment for me. And these early rulers, kings, emperors, did they just rely on brute force to keep things running smoothly? Or did they also tap into that human superpower, believing in things that aren't real?
They were masters of that. Think of Hammurabi's code in ancient Babylon. It wasn't just presented as a set of laws, it was framed as divinely inspired, given to Hammurabi by the gods themselves. This gave the law incredible weight and helped unify the vast Babylonian empire.
So, once again, shared beliefs, those common myths, are the bedrock of society. We've come a long way from those early Homo sapiens scavenging for scraps, but I have a feeling this is just the beginning of our story.
Indeed, we're only scratching the surface of Homo sapiens' journey. And the next chapter, the scientific revolution, takes us on an even wilder ride.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm all ready for the next leg of this journey. Let's dive back in after a quick... Just kidding, we're not stopping. Tell me more about this scientific revolution. What changes? All right, so we've gone from hunting and gathering to building empires, all thanks to the power of language and our unique ability to believe in common myths. But now we're entering the scientific revolution. Did this, change our reliance on those shared beliefs?
Well, the scientific revolution marks a profound shift in how we approach knowledge. Instead of relying on tradition or divine revelation, humans began to actively investigate the world through observation and experimentation.
So instead of asking the gods for answers, we started looking for them ourselves. But didn't empires use knowledge to expand their power? Did the scientific revolution fuel that too?
It's a complex relationship. Take Christopher Columbus. His voyages weren't just about discovering new lands, but also about expanding scientific knowledge, fueled by the quest for new trade routes and resources. This drive for knowledge went hand in hand with the expansion of European empires.
So the pursuit of knowledge can have a dark side. It makes you wonder if progress always comes at a cost. But how did this shift in thinking lead to the rise of global capitalism? It feels like a giant leap from exploring the world to worrying about stock prices.
It's not as big a leap as you might think. The scientific revolution and the rise of empires helped spread European ideas, culture, and their economic system. This led to the widespread acceptance of capitalism, with its emphasis on individual initiative, private property, and the pursuit of profit.
So global capitalism, a system that shapes so much of our lives, it's really a product of those shifts in thinking that began centuries ago. But Harari suggests that despite all this progress, our individual happiness levels haven't necessarily increased. It feels counterintuitive. Shouldn't all this advancement make us happier?
It's a question that has puzzled philosophers and psychologists for ages. We have access to more wealth, knowledge, and technology than any previous generation. Yet studies suggest that overall levels of happiness haven't dramatically increased.
So despite having smartphones and instant ramen, we're not really that much happier than our ancestors who were chasing woolly mammoths.
It's not that simple. Remember, the benefits of progress haven't been distributed equally. Many people around the world still struggle with poverty, lack access to basic necessities, and face systemic disadvantages.
It's a sobering reminder that progress isn't a universal experience. And it makes me wonder, has all this progress really been good? I mean, we've made incredible advances in medicine and technology. But we've also got climate change, social inequality, and the threat of nuclear war.
It's a question Harari doesn't shy away from. He forces us to confront the reality that human progress is a double-edged sword. We've achieved remarkable things, but often at a significant cost.
It's like we've traded one set of problems for another. Maybe those hunter-gatherers were onto something with their simpler lifestyle. But we can't go back in time, so where do we go from here? Harari doesn't stop at the present. He takes us into the future, exploring technologies like bionics and anti-aging. It's like stepping into a science fiction novel.
It does feel that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's science fiction that's rapidly becoming reality. We have prosthetic limbs controlled by thought, brain-computer interfaces, and even gene editing technologies with the potential to enhance human capabilities.
It's both exciting and a little terrifying. Imagine curing diseases or extending our lifespans. But what if these technologies create a society where only the wealthy can afford to be enhanced? And what does it even mean to be human if we can merge with machines?
These are some of the ethical challenges we face as we enter what Harari calls the transhuman era. He suggests that we're on the cusp of a new evolutionary stage, one driven not by natural selection, but by our own conscious design.
So we're not just evolving, we're taking the reins and engineering our own evolution. That's a powerful and maybe even dangerous idea. It's like the Gilgamesh Project on steroids. Not just seeking immortality, but fundamentally changing what it means to be human.
It raises profound questions about identity, consciousness, and the future of our species. If we're no longer Homo sapiens, what are we? What values will we hold? And what will happen to those who are left behind in this transhuman race?
These are some seriously big questions. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the dawn of humanity to the potential for a transhuman future. But before my brain explodes, maybe we should take a moment to digest all of this.
Perhaps that's wise. We've only just begun to explore the complexities of human history and the challenges that lie ahead.
Okay, so we've journeyed from the cognitive revolution to like the cusp of a transhuman future, and frankly, my head is spinning a little bit. All this talk of merging with machines and rewriting our own evolution, it raises some serious questions. To help us unpack all of this, I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Emily Carter, a leading bioethicist and author of The Transhuman Dilemma. Dr. Carter, thanks for diving in with us.
It's my pleasure to be here. The topics you've been discussing are so crucial for us to consider as we navigate this really uncharted territory.
Dr. Carter, as we potentially move towards this transhuman era, what are some of the ethical considerations that keep you up at night?
Well, one of the most pressing concerns is equity. As we develop these technologies to enhance human capabilities, how do we ensure that they aren't just toys for the wealthy? Further widening the gap between the haves and have-nots. A future where a technologically enhanced elite looks down upon those who can't afford such modifications. That's a dystopia we need to avoid.
It's a chilling thought, like something straight out of science fiction.
Right.
But are those anxieties, misplaced? Are we overblowing the potential downsides?
I don't think so. The potential for these technologies to exacerbate existing inequalities is very real. And it's not just about access to enhancement. It's about the power dynamics that come with it. Who controls these technologies? Who decides how they're used? These are questions we need to grapple with now, before it's too late.
Okay, so we've got this potential for widening inequality.
Yeah.
But even if we solve that, there's still the question of what happens to our understanding of humanity itself. If we're merging with machines, altering our biology, are we still human?
That's the core dilemma, isn't it? As we modify ourselves, at what point do we cross that threshold and become something else entirely? And if we do, what happens to those human qualities we value? Empathy, compassion, creativity. Are there simply lines of code that we can rewrite?
It raises the question of what even constitutes humanity. Is it purely biological, or is there something more, some intangible essence? Is there a risk, Dr. Carter, that in our pursuit of transcendence, we lose something essential about ourselves?
I think that's a risk we have to acknowledge. It's easy to get caught up in the allure of limitless potential, to imagine ourselves as these godlike beings free from disease, aging, and even death. But we need to ask ourselves, at what cost? Are we willing to sacrifice our humanity for a shot at immortality?
It's a tough question. And I don't know if there's an easy answer. We've come so far as a species.
Right.
It's hard to imagine just stopping progress in its tracks. But barreling ahead without considering the consequences, that doesn't seem wise either.
Exactly. We need a balanced approach, one that embraces the possibilities of these technologies while safeguarding the values that make us human. And that requires open dialogue, collaboration between scientists, ethicists, policymakers, and the public. We all have a stake in shaping this future.
Well said, Dr. Carter. This has been an incredible deep dive, and I want to thank you for helping us navigate these complex issues.
Thank you for sharing your expertise, Dr. Carter. It's a lot to consider, but essential for us to ponder as we move forward.
Listeners, we've explored the twists and turns of human history from our humble beginnings to the potential for a transhuman future. The path ahead isn't clear, but one thing's for sure, it's up to us to shape it. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep. Until next time.